Quick introduction for Andrew. Andrew Chintz develops and implements programs and projects for energy efficiency and clean energy with a focus on the affordable housing, community development, and public sector markets. As a founding board member and chairman of the Energy Improvement Corporation, he was instrumental in developing and launching New York State's PACE program and has PACE financing transactional experience. He led demand aggregation for NYSERDA's Retrofit NY initiative, which adapts the European energy Sprung model to drive a scalable whole building approach for net zero energy building solutions for affordable housing. Andrew led market development for the New York City Energy Efficiency Corporation to drive solar and storage projects in the affordable housing and community development markets. Andrew is currently the financing specialist for the New York City Accelerator, assisting building owners to implement NYC Accelerator PACE financing. He's also active in related board and officer positions for nonprofit and municipal and community development organizations. He has a BA from Connecticut College, and an MS from Columbia University in Historic Preservation and Urban Planning, and a certificate of Sustainability Finance from Columbia. Thank you very much, Andrew, for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Taylor. It seems like I'm going to have to shorten that bio. It goes on way too long. Anyway, hello, everybody. Andrew Chintz. I'm the financing specialist with the New York City Accelerator program. And as Taylor had mentioned, you've all, if you attended the first session, there was a good overview of the New York City's decarbonization goals, primarily through the CMA and the local law 97. And today we're talking about resources to help you navigate through that market transformation. So why don't we go to the next slide? So I'll just basically go through what the New York City Accelerator is and the services that we provide, talk about financing energy efficiency generally, and with specific to faith-based organizations, and then talk about New York City Accelerator PACE financing and some of the other options that are available to finance the energy efficiency work. You can go to the next slide, thanks. So what is the New York City Accelerator? This is a free service sponsored by New York City through the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice. And it is available to building owners to help them address local law 97 and generally make their buildings, eventually make all the buildings, decarbonize all the buildings. So we provide technical service to help you on a customized basis to help you figure out, for instance, what your penalties are with local law 97, what kind of work you could do to address those penalties. We can help you, lead you to service providers. We have an RFQ out where we have service providers respond and we vet them. So it's a good referral service. We help you, lead you to incentive programs. And basically the way we're set up is we have various building tracks, new construction, affordable housing, existing buildings, and there are account managers that are kind of the point person for you. And we will later send out a little a survey that you can respond to, and we can connect with you and start providing these services. So in addition to these account managers, we have specialists that are brought in this conversation. I'm the financing specialist, so I get brought into the conversations when you want to talk about financing. We also have Solar One as our solar specialist. So if you want to put solar on the rooftop, they can help you through that whole process by doing an assessment, a feasibility study, help you with determining the technologies, the incentives, leading you to and helping you with a competitive bid process to find an installer to put the system in. You can go to the next slide, please. So who's eligible? Any building owner with a building that's larger than 5,000 square feet. Basically, all of you in the audience are eligible for using New York City Accelerator. If it is a smaller building, which doesn't really apply here, that's more for single family homes, it gets referred to other organizations. And as I said, you just get in touch with us and we'll have a survey later that you can respond to, a question that we can get connected right today. And again, this is a free service for the building owners. Go to the next slide. So just a little bit more on our focus here today. So this group of faith-based organizations, is my understanding, is we have different types of building typologies. We have the actual houses of worship. We have ancillary buildings, which might be housing. And then there's some of the organizations, as I understand it, are sponsors in affordable housing projects. And so what we will do when we start working with you, and especially on the financing side, is we really need to understand your specific kind of structure of ownership, and really more what the financial structure is. And with this group, it's pretty diverse in terms of the kind of ownership or financing structures that are out there. You know, there can be something like the Archdiocese, which is very large and owns hundreds, maybe even thousands of buildings, and has very strong financial resources and a balance sheet. As then at the other end of the spectrum, it could be just a single church building where they don't have any revenues, they don't have a balance sheet, they rely on fundraising for any capital improvements. And so really, for us to start helping you with the financing, we really need to understand that. So again, I encourage you to reach out to us. If it was an affordable housing project that the faith-based organization is affiliated with, that would be even a different scenario. That would just operate like a multifamily project with rental income and expenses being paid and the financing being paid out of that income. So these different financing options are going to be dictated by this ownership and financial structure. You can go to the next slide. So I just thought it'd be useful to just kind of do a kind of broad overview here of the questions of why we might finance energy efficiency. Obviously, if your building's over 25,000 square feet and you're affected by local law 97, and some of the organizations do have other prescriptive pathways and potentially delayed requirements, but still going to need to address local law 97 requirements. So the financing not only address these penalties, but it's a good way to look at this is, you know, there's some long-term financing available, which can help you kind of take a bigger view, bigger picture, because we're going to be, local law 97 is decarbonization up to, you know, the end goal in 2050. And so you'll be needing to do more work to get to that goal, and financing can help you do that and potentially do it sooner. Financing can help with, you know, larger projects, if you're projects that aren't moving forward, if there's a lot of different projects in a different, several different properties, it's another reason to use financing. Also, if you finance the work, you don't use existing reserves that you can use for other capital needs. If you do kind of combine, the financing can possibly be combined with the energy efficiency work as well as other deferred maintenance in the buildings. Again, if you sort of, just like looking at long-term needs for local line 97, if you look at this in a sort of bigger picture, the financing can become more efficient if you finance more. The financing costs, I should say, can become more efficient if you are financing more work for your building. And the other thing to note, which is unique with energy efficiency or even a renewable energy project, it's unique in the sense that you're actually could be borrowing money to do the work, but you actually create savings because of the efficiency. And so it's something where you could not only maybe cover the cost of the financing, the payments that you have to make, but you could even exceed the cost of the financing and have additional cash flow for the building. So something else to keep in mind for financing your improvements. You can go to the next slide. So when the city passed Local Law 97, they also passed Local Law 96, which was created to establish a PACE program, PACE financing program. And again, just Accelerator is your resource here. We can help you with this. We can help you access and understand what PACE financing is. We can help you determine whether it works in your building. It doesn't work in every case, and just overall help you analyze or assess your choices. We don't make your decision for you, but we're here as a kind of a third-party objective advisor. And if PACE doesn't work, we have other options that we can also help you with. Go to the next slide. So I'll talk more now about what PACE is. So PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy Financing. And really what it is it's kind of an old financing tool, a municipal financing tool that's been used really back as far as hundreds of years ago. It, I believe, started in Philadelphia with Ben Franklin, and it's similar to how assessment districts, special assessments are finance public improvements. Usually, if you're in a district and you get a charge on your tax bill to pay for a public improvement that was financed probably through a bond issue, that public improvement benefits everyone in the district. Everyone gets assessed the charge. And basically, that's what PACE is. It's not a district. It's on a voluntary basis, and it isn't a public improvement like a fire district or a water and sewer district. It's for your particular building. But the difference is that we have determined that reducing greenhouse gases is a public purpose. And so that's why PACE legislation has been authorized now in about 36 states, I think. There's about 12 programs around the country that operate PACE programs. So PACE is for energy efficiency, renewable energy improvements. It's paid back through an assessment on the tax bill. You can go to the next slide. But what are the benefits of PACE financing? It's fixed rate financing and can finance 100% of all of the work, again, related to energy efficiency or renewable energy. I will note also that you can actually finance related improvements, ancillary improvements, if they are related. For instance, if you're going to put solar on the rooftop, but the solar needs to be usually relatively new roof, I believe no older than 5 to 7 years, you could finance a new roof with the PACE financing as well. So it does allow that. 100% financing, and it's long-term financing, and it's based on the useful life of what you're financing. So if it was solar panels or windows or a new boiler system, those have a long life. So it's the average of all the elements that you financed on the weighted basis that determines the term of the financing. And as I mentioned earlier, the work that you do, if it lowers your utility bills because of efficiency, those that can lower the expense, the energy expense, as well as other expenses like potentially maintenance and other operating expenses. And you could even possibly create some positive cash flow. Of course, PACE, this is a way to improve your energy efficiency score and help you comply with local law 97. The other kind of feature of PACE, and this may not be as relevant in some cases, again, it depends on the building typology. Certainly it would for affordable housing, but if you were to sell the building, there's no requirement to pay off the PACE loan. It's just a tax on it's a charge on your tax bill. It gets transferred to the new owner, just like every other tax or assessment charge, and they continue to pay it and receive the benefits. The other thing to note here is that the guidelines with New York City PACE, New York City Accelerator PACE financing, which it's technically called, allows you to finance work you've already done over the past 3 years. So if you recently did some improvements and you're going to be, I wouldn't do PACE financing just for that, but if you're going to be doing a PACE loan for future work, you can add in and sort of refund or refinance the work you've already done. Again, making the loan more efficient, maybe more cost effective. You can go to the next slide. The requirements for PACE financing is that you need an energy audit, an OSHRA level 2 or 3 audit, and that will dictate what you can finance with PACE. If it's a solar rooftop solar project, then it would be a feasibility study that would be required. If you have, because this is a tax charge and it's paid on a priority basis, senior to a loan, a mortgage loan, you do need to get a consent from your mortgage lender. Again, we need to really get into the details of your building, whether you even have debt or not, and we can discuss all these on a case-by-case basis. The other requirement is that you need to pass what's called a savings to investment ratio, an SIR that has to be greater than 1. And basically what that is it calculates all the costs over the whole term of the loan, the benefits of the savings over the whole term of the loan as a ratio over the total cost, which is really the loan amount. And that has to be a number that's greater than 1. You can go to the next slide. Just a note about the participants in this program. So I talked about Accelerator. We're here to help you, the building owner. Again, I would help you navigate this process, identify lenders. This is a true public-private operation. This is a city program. It's administered by the New York City Energy Efficiency Corporation, NYSEG. They're contracted by the city to be the administrator, but the lenders are private companies that are approved by NYSEG to be a lender in this program. So there are 11 approved lenders at this point. These are lenders that are usually finance companies. They're lending in a lot of the PACE programs around the country. So PACE, NYSEG would not only approve the lender, but they'd approve the loans. They would make sure it complies with the law, and they would make sure it gets put on the tax bill with the Department of Finance once the loan is closed. You can go to the next slide. So again, this is, just a little bit more kind of specific to our audience here. PACE is available to really all commercial and multifamily buildings. The buildings for PACE is available for faith-based organizations. And it depends again on the building type, and it's all going to depend on some of the requirements that are that I described. But basically, this is available to you. If it is an affordable housing project, that can be challenging because of the mortgage lender consent issue. It can sometimes be an issue for affordable housing. You know, depending, as I was talking before about the financial structure of the particular building type, if it isn't a revenue, if there's no revenues coming in, a PACE lender, just like any lender, is going to need to see how is the loan going to be paid back. If the loan is for a smaller building, that can be challenging because PACE lenders have a minimum size limit of 500,000. So my point here of this slide is just that, and again, not to be repetitive, but we need to just talk to you individually about your specific case and just to see if PACE can fit. But there are different reasons why it may or may not fit depending on the building type. Go to the next slide. This is just a visual, a roadmap to show you again how Accelerator as a resource can help you with PACE. As a building owner, you come to Accelerator, you would get assigned to an account manager who's your main kind of point person on all of the elements that we help you with. And they would bring me in as the financing specialist. Obviously, you can just come directly to me too if we want to just talk about PACE. Or I'm sorry, just talk about financing. And so once we're engaged with you, we provide, you know, we would connect you, we would show you the list of approved lenders, you would start working with them just like you would with any kind of a loan process. They would do an application to NYSEC, which would get approved, and you would go through, you know, the terms of the loan are really specific to the lender in terms of the rates and the term. Well, the term is directed by the law, as I mentioned. And, you know, some of the items are driven by the law, but many of them are driven by the individual lender. So I would just sort of stay on the sidelines to be as much or as little involved as you would like, just to be, again, your sort of advisor. And so NYSEC would then, once the loan is closed, they make sure it gets put on the tax bill, and the tax bill comes out. The charge would be twice a year to the building owner. You can go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, that there are these requirements with PACE, and not all the buildings are going to fit. It's what's required. Maybe the loan is too small, whatever those requirements are. If it doesn't, we have another product that we're developing. And basically, the Connecticut Green Bank offers PACE in Connecticut, and they were an early adopter. They've been doing it for probably over 10 years. They came across these issues where PACE didn't always work, and they've created what they call Catalyst Loan Program. And we're in the process of bringing that to New York City. And basically what it is, it's kind of like PACE, but it's without that tax lien, which can, you know, be the challenging part. As I mentioned, with affordable housing, the lenders will not allow a PACE lien in front of their mortgage lien. So Catalyst kind of meets a lot of the, or addresses a lot of the problems with PACE. It's long-term, it is also for energy improvement and renewable energy projects, but it also includes health and safety. And it's a lot for multifamily housing, but they will also finance nonprofit facilities, which includes faith-based organizations and their properties, including the multifamily affordable housing properties. So it is something that you can use for affordable housing where PACE can be problematic. It also will do loans as small as $50,000 as opposed to the $500,000 limit for PACE. You can go to the next slide. So in addition, we, depending on the work that you want to do and all of the requirements of different lenders, there are other options. And, you know, again, we can walk through these in more detail. I just wanted to kind of show them here, but it's really best if we talk individually about your particular situation. But you know, the New York City Energy Efficiency Corporation, as I mentioned, was the administrator of the New York City Accelerator PACE program. They're also a lender. They're a local green bank, and they will lend on energy efficiency projects. If you do have a mortgage and you are looking to refinance that mortgage, that's also another option. But I wouldn't do that unless you're going to be doing it anyway. I wouldn't just do a refinancing of your mortgage just for this work. So that's all a matter of timing. There are also lenders that will lend on just the equipment, or maybe they can do a lease on the equipment. There's also what we call non-debt financing solutions, which are things like an energy service contract or an energy services agreement, where a service provider comes in and does all of the work and finances it sort of all in one as kind of a turnkey solution. And a power purchase agreement is another example, which you might have heard about for using for solar projects. It's a way to, it comes under that category as well. It provides, you enter into a contract for the solar, but you don't have to pay, you don't have to finance it, you don't maintain it. It's all done through the power purchase agreement. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is, as a nonprofit institution, which I'm guessing most of you are, you do have access to tax-exempt bond financing in some cases. And there are also potentially, if you were going to do equipment leases, you could do tax-exempt leases because of your status as a 501c3, which essentially means a lower interest rate. So I don't want to get into too much detail here. Again, I know we need to, the timing is, our time is getting up here, and this is just to show you that there are other options. On the right, you see there's a sort of a roadmap. We have put together a energy efficiency financing toolkit, which discusses a PACE, it discusses these other options, and it has this roadmap that you see to kind of help navigate, just as another tool. So you can go to the next slide. I think that might be the last one. Yeah, so I will stop there. We'll can talk more. And again, we will do the survey so that you can start, we can start a dialogue with you. Thank you.